malls, northbound, past pine trees, still as velvet in an empty theater. So, the second poem had a really boring title. It was Telephone Poles. And Brock kindly said you should call this Utility, which is slightly less boring, which is what I went with. Thank you, Brock. Utility. Poles point dully at the sky. Poles point dully at the sky, rigid, unable to relax into watercolor or panoramic photograph because of the power they manage, like executives in brown suits declining to set aside briefcases. You don't feel compelled to climb them as you might an apple tree because they reek of creosote, their splinters villainous. But you must applaud their fellowship when, arm in arm, they stand against prairie tornado or delta flood, reminders of interdependence, old, flat-footed Bolsheviks under lofty satellite chatter, under space and stars beyond stars, from ice-chipped dawn to warm summer darkness, asserting their humble logic on the landscape, like a silent infantry standing soot-wet in the rain, awaiting orders. Voices cross the delicate slack, crows settle down to nap. So I started a project this semester writing from the point of view of a character named Jack, who's most famous for climbing a beanstalk. And so I wrote a few poems, and this one's called Giant Boots. And you have to imagine, you probably know the story, right? He climbs a beanstalk and enters a castle. The castle's owned by a giant. So that's where this poem is set. Giant Boots. Then Jack comes to the edge of the bed. Below he sees boots, black, big as trucks, laces thick as climbing rope, dropped from his high school gym. He snaps pictures with his phone because this shit is just too crazy. No one will believe the boots' totemic gloom without proof. Cool wind against Jack's throat as he tries to comprehend their bulk, so opposite this airy room, so anti-April, huffing through open windows. He feels flimsy as a daisy compared to the boots' thick tread and twin emptiness, like gaping mouths frozen mid-yawn, complete with lolling tongues. Rank odor. Wet earth and gutted swine wafting up from empty leather. Gentle reader, it's not the boots Jack dreads, but someone's huge theoretical feet, for which the boots were built. And above the boots' hypothetical hands could peel his thighs. A hungry mind could engineer his tibia into a toothpick. Not the boots, but what the boots imply.
I love you, my poets. I'm Star. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Anna. I rely on you so much. Thank you, Jessie. Jessie is doing a book. And so tonight, if you read for the open mic, you should say yes to letting Jessie contact you. She's our video person. And she is going to do this grand project called The People of Helicon West. There are quite a few of them. We oftentimes pack the house. So thank you for being here. We really like it. I'm going to read the sarcoma poems, just a few of the sarcoma poems. And I'll read exactly what's in the book in the order that it's in the book. And I hope some of you will buy the books. Harvest. On the kitchen counter, jars of pickles, dill with peppers, peppers with vegetables suspended in vinegar, sharp tang masking, barely, the smell of cod fillets broiled for dinner. Husband is yearning for longer life, his cancer returning. Wife lets him help with the canning. He stirs fat peppers, snapping and smoking in the pan, a slick of canola oil, skins pierced, juice burning his eyes. She cuts long strips of carrot, red bell peppers. She peels onions. He peels garlic. They stand side by side, industrious after dark, holding the news inside, each thought a texture of its own, the color of future. Whose life will be set aside first? His, with its bright, varied snap, or hers, its vinegared spark? Who's to say which will be preserved and which will be tossed like the skins and gratings of all they've peeled back, brightest colors pressed into jars, shelved, shining? Join. He goes to Carver's Club. She sits down to read about medical marijuana and has a good cry. He has decided, again, there will be no chemo for him. I'm going for life quality, not quantity, he said. She'd been in a black hole all day since leaving him that morning at the kitchen table, head in his hands, morose. Went to work worried enough to make errors, transpose simple numbers, come near to tears at every situation. This can't go on, she thought, and came home. He'd reconciled himself while she'd been gone, but she is not relieved. Distress will be her mode from here on out. They'll go again to Cancer Town, where people undergoing treatment worse than the disease line up in waiting rooms to get the latest news. She doesn't want to join his club. He doesn't want to see her lose the things she needs, the things she loves, to be a caretaker for him. She doesn't see how things that mattered to her once could matter again without him. Next, dinner. By the way, thank you, Brock, for that time. Brock is great with titles. After the biopsy, after the surgeon takes 3 good samples, they wait in same day to make sure no air blows out the hole Dr. Ho made, sarcoma in the lung. Scans exposed the tumor, showed the liver nodules, all benign. Scans proved the pelvis clear, where 9 years earlier, misdiagnosed for a hernia, an egg-shaped tumor fell into the surgeon's hand. New scans reveal tumors on both lungs. More surgery, surely, if those grow from pin size. They wait to drive home, have dinner at the cancer center, blackened red snapper, strawberries on spinach, black coffee, thick frosted carrot cake. Hope. Double rainbow. Straight under its arch they drive on their way from the hospital, bow high above them, doubling down in columns of yellow, green, coral, purple. They reel their way through like dancers under a span of joined hands, half-wheel of karmic prophecy. Last poem, coupled. Mountains coalesce in fall sun, east color washed by west's brush, sunset's palette. Linked across the valley, mountains on each side play off each other like the couple at the kitchen table. All that passes over them reflected in furrow of brow, glaze of worry mirrored, his eyes to hers, his cancer eroding their peaks, her mask of hope uprising. They counter each other. The torn down is built up, the flattened lifted. Colors that gray in the fade of a western sun shine forth all coral and gold the next day. And then again, just before eventide, cuts and peaks and ridges blend to solid profile, a flat slate on which to draw tomorrow's possibility, pockets of leftover heat radiating rock to rock, stoic faces burnished bronze.
Let's clap some more. now. And while our readers are reading, feel free to go back and buy a copy of their anthology, get it signed. You know now how masterful they are.
I have change.
Start has changed. So I'll grab the list and then we'll start the open mic portion. Yeah.
Put Roland Justin on the list.
Oh yeah, me too.
Actually held it together pretty well.
The poem especially on like what children or
Yeah, I need to make a call to a friend. Are you staying? Is it 7 minutes, right? Limited to 7 minutes. Go over, we'll kindly clap you away from the mic. So first we'll hear from Lauren Smith, then Travis Williams, and then Matthew Allred.
Lauren Smith. I think I'm significantly going to lower the standard here. Bathroom line. I'm going to die in this bathroom line. My bladder is going to explode and the grizzly guy behind me is going to take a picture with his billion-megapixel superphone and post it on the internet where I will become a meme. But that was better than actually entering this porta potty and fainting from the methane that will surely asphyxiate me and cause me to slump over into some unpleasant corner because there are no pleasant corners in a porta potty. And when they open the door, after all the bladders of the people in line have exploded from waiting in this bathroom line, and after all of them have become memes because of the superphones taking pictures, they'll take a picture of me slumped over in a porta potty corner and post it on the internet with my meme brethren. And the only way I can console myself is by believing that hell is a porta potty and heaven a bidet, and that I am hopefully bound for good plumbing. I think this next poem requires a little explanation. Does everybody know the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, Greek mythology? Well, real quickly. Basically, Eurydice is married to Orpheus, Eurydice dies, Orpheus is really sad, and so he writes and sings a song which breaks the hearts of the gods. And so he's allowed to go into the underworld to get her, but he's not allowed to look at her until he gets back up to the land of the living. And when he gets up to the land of the living, he turns around, but Eurydice hasn't passed through the door, basically, to the land of the living, and so consequently, she loses him forever. My poem is significant, kind of destroys the beauty of that Greek mythology, I guess, but all the same. Orpheus, hair rocker. You think when Orpheus sang to Eurydice, she screamed a high-pitched scream and showed him her breasts? And if so, did Orpheus pelvic thrust excitedly against a tree while strumming his lute in the woods? I wonder if when they married, did Orpheus hire a rap band out of Athens who filled everyone in how pimp Zeus really was? And I wonder if the bridesmaids of Eurydice screwed that rap group just because they were out of Athens. I wonder how much money Orpheus made off the single he wrote when Eurydice died, and I wonder if when he went to save her from the underworld, if Eurydice, because the song of Orpheus was all Hades and Persephone would play, thought this song makes me want to stay dead. And I wonder if Orpheus was singing that song on his way down into the underworld like some sort of rock opera in his open bosom shirt and leather pants, and if because the gods had commanded him not to look at Eurydice until he returned to the land of the living, he didn't notice that Eurydice had moved on to grunge and was now really into flannel and pretty much just wanted to stay dead. Which is why she resisted the whole way back up to the path to the land of the living, and why she gave Orpheus the finger when he turned around to see her at that last instant. And which is also probably why Orpheus then regretted the tattoo he had gotten over on his back as a surprise you're alive present. But which also probably spawned the idea for a great breakup song, which probably charted almost as well as his love song did. Then my last poem here is called This Is Me Being Outgoing. I think it was Heidi's pigtails that made me do it. Lend her my favorite book, My Best Friend is a Robot. But it could have been the fact that she could draw a boy with glasses and I was jealous she got into the art club. And even though I swore she was a booger-ridden jerk for putting my book on the bookshelf in the classroom instead of giving it back to me next year, I asked a friend to ask her friend if she liked me, who told her friend who told my friend that she did, after which I moved away because it's easy to be outgoing when you're moving away. Just like it was easy to punch Tom Watkins in the face for saying I smelled and wore the same shirt every day at the new school, which is where, unbeknownst to me and Tom Watkins, I had an informal fight trading in the form of a railroad worker in the 4th grade play where they told me to act like I was swinging a hammer, which is what I did when I clobbered his nose with my fist in the after-school showdown. When staring at girls became popular, my romantic life hit a peak. In fact, subtly dividing my attention between the middle school teachers and my dreamy romantic interest was a true talent of mine, as I was rarely called out for not paying attention, even though I never spoke up with right answers. Of course, high school came with new challenges. When asked if I didn't join the football team because I was afraid of being hit, I then had to refrain from punching somebody and launching into a rant about how much I disliked huddles, showering with other people, and being slapped on the ass by random guys for doing a good job. And when staring as an acceptable form of beauty appreciation ended, and Julie Beckett asked me if I wanted to have a sleepover, I panicked and told her I'd have to ask my parents. But it was all for the better anyway, since Julie got pregnant the next year by a jerk on the football team I never talked to, whose name I can't remember, and I joined the cross-country team where nobody else touched you at all, but where you could stare off into the distance as much as you wanted to, so long as there weren't trees or large boulders in your running. In college, there were basketball games to go to, which was pretty much like sitting next to someone who you don't know on a plane for 10 hours, except the seats are hard as shit, and you can't make the excuse that you're tired and want to cover your head in a blanket and go to sleep. Their teachers come in two varieties, those who simply talk to the entire class because they were outgoing, and those who called on each individual student because they knew the staring trip from middle school, which is endearing really, considering they themselves managed to survive 8 years alone in a library somewhere reading something no one else they know cares about, which is generally what I like to do in college. Of course, today I only panic a little bit when a new acquaintance asks me if I want to hang out. And even though I always decline party invitations because I don't want to stand by the drink area all night to avoid telling people to have to ask my parents, and even though I hate it when people scan every aisle of the grocery store in the opposite direction I do, causing our paths to crisscross more than is comfortable, and even though I have nightmares about a group of more than 10 people singing happy birthday to me at the same time, and even though I really hate any form of digital message that is sent to me that tells the sender of the message that I have read their message, and even though I panic when I see people whose names I've forgotten, I am sharing these words with you, which is me being outgoing.
Aloha. So my name's Travis. Have any of you guys read T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of Jane Austen and Proof?
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't, have you ever watched a movie? I think I got everyone with the second one. So I don't have a title for this yet. Consumed in flame, confessing my shame, knowing I won't return to earth again, I will play the part in the love song of Jane Austen and Proof. Let us go then, you and I, into my rusty projection stretched wide. Let us scream the muttering retreats of moving from streets into big cushy box buildings. Let's go into my yellow office of overwhelming thought. It leads into my blue foyer of wasting time, wondering if life could be as wonderful as movies. If mine were, I wouldn't, for I'm still practicing producing, can't capture breath yet. Women in rooms reek of fake sentiment, talking of thespians, never pedestrians. I presume on high sentence that everything is meaningless. Stop motion and reassess focus. Still frame thoughts for dreams feel light feel. No Fellini to film block your mind. Black wind, water, whited waves, the embellished take. And time yet for 100 indecisions to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. Lips chapped on set with 2 stunning actresses, scared to speak for I'm a winless sack. Before my unwaxed preach can start, I fumble my peach. Scuttling across the floor to retrieve the siren screams to be on scene, rehearsed enchantment as my speech stopped. Prophets don't fumble eating peaches, thus making my arms way too short to box with you, God, or Jesus. He beseeches 12 hours a day, none at night, all at ray. When there is a midnight showing, I waste away light waiting for stars, thinking of how tramped I am by silence, the footman's cane. Will there be time to murder and create, and it will blur until he's back again? I can play the fool well, a comic stripped enough to be a cartoon. I am a fantastic groom, a fine-tuned loony. The well-dressed lie gets turned down in time. The little toaster is brave. The beast behaved. Wish girls talked of my flooded, unmaidenly legs. Yet all they speak of is this orange Ninja Turtle, or of the Alfred who returned with Super. I fucking fumble framing the birds with a camera. A cycle to shake spilling speary icebergs, slipping into and frozen thoughts. Am I Lazarus? I have wasted many second chances, spent around wishing 3 charms into chasing gals' glances that still say, ooh, you're ick. Probably, if even only momentarily, please promise that you will sing about me. And pour me into imagination after I've been etherized past euphoric. Will you come on forth to posthumously lift my lap into heavens as you bliss life away? Directing line by line, take by take, cut. This is not what I meant at all. This is not it at all. Let me conduct my own voice over a loud trained process, etching subtitled subconscious as the concept. Would it be hard to film a movie about your life? If I filmed a movie about my life, I would lie. I would grab a mic to stir a pipe, then tell you I'm not the type. I'm used to being cast as an extra far aside. I am not right. I fumbled peach, I tell you. Cut. That is exactly what I meant to say. So abolish that scene, take it away. For replay is to be spectacled by critical and the silhouetted, unaccredited phalanges flying everywhere, positive or negative, deciding what state is, crediting a creation for how much it makes you forget your own. Thumb high toward sky, I sigh, for I still measure nights by moons. Break up coffee in spoons, shake off Satanists by wounds. Once deliberate baboons, now span swiftly into beams of scrambled, swiped spaces, pressing screens and snooze. Ignoring music, love, and food due to always changing the channel to go fast forward. Then the playing stops out of style, our trousers rolled, deaf to eyes we know. How to take helm of the universe and shake it of its will by the virtue of my head screaming at movie screens, wondering, what is my role? When do I act on dreams? Where is my direction? Why doesn't my cousin sleep? Whose eyes forgot to ask God ever my soul to keep? So if I shall die, before I wake, the Lord will take a soul that aches so loud for human voices to wake it until it drowns. Thanks.
So I'm Matt Allred. I'm going to read a poem, and then I'm going to read some fiction, and then I'm going to sit down. Eventually I'll go home. This poem is called Even in the Winter. Evergreens grow forever. Break a needle in half and smell 10 years ago, 100,000 years ago. After destruction exceeds the comprehension of all remaining life, it will still smell like that. Yes, even in the winter. For my fiction, I'm going to read from this book. It's my book. It's a real book. Like many books, it can be purchased with human money. I don't know that it's worth it, but you can buy it. The e-book version is very, very cheap. So just punch my name in Amazon and it'll pop up. All you need to know for this little passage is that it takes place in the 25th century in Kansas. A organization called the Consada organization has kind of swept this area of America. And basically, they're not the best guys in the world. They just get together and talk about life and death. It's the only two things they think have any value at all. And one of their rites that they do is they will sometimes watch animals give birth, or they will ritualistically kill them in a circle. It's called a muerte campana. And this is at the beginning of a sort of different one. Dannenhall, the Consada chief, stands in the center of the circular podium, which will soon be carried off to clear the stage where so many animals have met life and death. This is a day of great power, he says. Today we have been given a great gift by one of the finest chapter fellows I have ever known. This is a man dedicated to Consada, to life and death. The crowd is full of energy, a certainty that clarity is about to descend upon them. None of them knows what is coming except Bill. He knows, and he is full of fear. Dannenhall says, "I will not stand before you and hypocritically deny my feelings. I know that weakness is inherent in us, but this weakness is not clear. It is not life, nor is it death. It is not Consada. So I will quiet the passions of my heart. I will accept what we are about to witness with joy. This should be no different than any muerte campana, for all life is life. Bill is afraid that he will be found out, that his true motivations, which he knows are not cansada, will be discovered. To everyone, Dannenhall says, please do not allow your own passions to pollute the clarity of life and death. This is an opportunity to prove to yourself and to me that you are cansada, as all things are. There is still exuberance, but attention has wound itself through the group, like belts in an automobile engine never seen by these men. The festivities begin with the deaths of cats and Dannenhall's old horses. The men are lowered slowly into the landscape of mortality. Christopher glances over at Bill, believing him to be as excited as he was for whatever was about to happen. Bill pretends he does not notice, his shame growing. Christopher represents everything Bill wishes he could be. Marijuana smoke Bill owes, but does not seem to infuse the air with its effect as entirely as usual. Bill does not feel high enough, though he is also smoking. He remembers the last horse finishes kicking and the body is dragged ceremoniously from the stage. A period of silence follows. The lights dim a little more, doing nothing but increasing the tension I mentioned a few paragraphs ago. The animal blood is then washed into a drain by men with high-powered hoses. The men begin to chatter quietly, excitedly with one another. They don't know what's coming, but they know Dannenhall lied. This is not just another muerte campana. Tonight is going to be special. The lights dim further, spreading Bill's fear to the other men in very small doses. He wants to watch, but wishes he didn't have to be there. What if she says something? Would his brother show up? Obviously none of that makes any sense. Out of context. He is sweating in the warm room. Outside the temperature is much, much lower. A gurney is wheeled onto the stage, its occupant secreted behind hanging curtains. Bill knows it is her, but the other men do not yet know. Some will recognize her. Some have probably even been with her physically. Bill must remind himself of this. The curtains are pulled back by men in headdresses. The large hump which holds the baby is clearly visible in her nudity. If it actually were Bill's baby inside her, as Dannenhall believes, then Bill would be cansada, truly. By the way, Bill's only son, still unnamed and about to turn 1, is with a neighbor woman whom Bill has paid. 3 beings encircle her, wearing not only headdresses but also the accompanying animal masks, 1 cat, 1 dog, 1 pig. Each holds a long pole with a very ornate blade at the end of it, ornate and viciously sharp. Little greenish flags wave from the point where the blade meets the staff. The symbolism is clear to everyone present. The pole is life, the blade is death, and the flag is marijuana, connecting the two. There is no sound loud enough to cover their footsteps, though they are wrapped in cloth dyed black. Bill notices how much more smoke there is now. Dannenhall must have turned the machines up. Bill thinks of the baskets of marijuana burning. The lights are carefully lowered further, allowing even more darkness to enter. Her head lolls, free of tautness by way of the drug she's taken. Her eyes, for no more than a second or two, rest on the face of Bill, but he cannot tell if she conceives of his presence. He knows that she loves him, despite everything she despises about him. How stupid she is. The thing that is least like life and death, the thing that is doubt, enters William in poisonous droplets. Perhaps he should stop them, proclaim his guilt to all, but he cannot. He does not want to be congratulated, as he soon will be. He does not deserve to be known as the man who gave his woman and his child for the clarity of cansada. It continues, because it's a quote, but that's all I've got to
So we have to wrap up by 8:45, so we only have like 22 minutes. And there's 7 people still on the list. So if I could ask, maybe try to keep it a little shorter than 7 minutes, just so we can hear everybody read. I know that kind of stinks, but it would stink to not get to read if you've written your name down. So first we've got Marty Nikos, and then Tyson Steele, then Caitlin Erickson.
Hi. Apparently I'm Marty, so.
Hi.
poems. I'm going to try to read them all. If I go over, just do something, throw something at me or something. Anyway, first one is called Clockwork Knight. I am the Clockwork Knight, once commissioned by kings, a victor of countless battles. Now my joints are rusted through. Your musket balls tear holes in my iron plating. They never even slow down. My usefulness has passed, withered away. I lay broken and alone in the corner in the past. My helmet is rusted shut from iron tears, buried under your newest dreams. The future doesn't hold a place for me. Nighttime has passed away. Daylight is breaking along my tattered seams. My key lies broken, forgotten, somewhere with the rats. So I have two more. Next one is called Uncle Bela. It's kind of a classic. Uncle Bela sits on a stump, his pocket knife expertly carving a big slab of bacon, one eye not wanting to give up his secrets, sightless. The other, he says, able to see a coin from 1,000 meters. Sadly, it sees only the past, remembering a tribute an eagle would envy. His gnarled hands hold the knife between tree-root fingers, scarred from molding steel into locks. He made puppets for the children, hoping to keep them from knowing the horrors of where they were. Their parents only paying him in knowing glances, bowed heads, promises. Bela looks at me, his mouth turns to a smile, a gate coming off its hinges. Chuck Eget Vion, he tells me, his large hand on my back, smile never wavering. I'll never know what he has gone through. He doesn't talk of the medals my mother will later give me for my birthday. I take the bread, now saturated with the grease from the dripping bacon. I take a bite and savor the flavor. No, the time. Last one, I'll try to make it quick. My manticore. My manticore sleeps, camouflaged on a pillow. His ancient bones stick out from under his skin. His terrorizing days are over and long since forgotten, his melodious song barely heard. I like his square face, the comment is made. After all, she should know. He can't sit down all the way and his legs are crooked, but he still manages. My manticore looks up, as if he knows we are talking about him. His face is more feline than human. His teeth, all 3 sets, are worn. His tail spines are worthless. They get shorter every year. They're worth something to me. His mane has fallen out and blown away, but he hasn't noticed. He is content to sit in my lap. This is the happiest he's been. At least I can give him that. I scratch under his chin, and he moves toward me, as if only remembering how to respond. Thank you.
I'm Tyson Steele. I was gonna do a big long poem that was like 8 minutes, but I decided to do something else. It's about my dog I went hiking with, not the one I had to shoot. I read a poem a while back. It's not this one. We went on a 50-mile hike. She had a little pack and little dog boots, and she left her dog boots behind, and by the end of the trail she had bloody paws and everything, licking them. And this is about her paws. It's called The Taste of Terrain. Collapsed in an aspen patch, my beagle licks the sores on her paws as if famished, as if struggling to tongue every flavor of the 50 miles we just marched. Tang of glacier lily, sun-dried pine, years-old forest fire soot, the woody moss clinging to stream beds, nameless tributaries of the Strawberry River, the lowland black marshy compost, dark swamp mud and deer scat between her teeth. In between her toes, does she note the hint of horse manure and road base, or the asphalt where we cross traffic on Highway 40? Does she swallow the oil, tire skids, and road rash, the cigarette butts and soda splatter of big gulps pitched out of trucks? Under her claws, is she surprised at the semen latex mix of the condom she stepped on? Can she taste civilization itself on the pads of her feet, all the petroleum, soda, and roadside sex that discharges from it? I wonder if she knows it's her blood she's licking as she licks bits of broken beer bottles bored into her paws, the metallic flavors of her veins seeping down her throat as glass shards slice her tongue.
I have no idea how to get out. Okay.
Hey, there's stuff over here. Now I know that. Okay, I'm going to be reading some poetry. I assume you're tall. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be reading some poetry. Frost. I always seem to love in the winter. It blooms with bodies curled under thin blankets and sagging mattresses, hands and legs stacked to cool warmth, thaw fingerprints and thighs, spread skin to skin. That's when we started. When the wind just started to blow cold and the sky grew black, hours before we walked to my car, shy, unsure of how our feet fell together, how we fit together. I don't know what to do if you're not cold, how I'll excuse the need to burrow against your body, slide a hand onto the warmth of your stomach. I need frigid breath and fingers outstretched, starved for warmth, to reach you. Okay, grenade, and this has an epigraph, and I'm terrible at reading epigraphs, so here we go. I fell in love the way you fall asleep, slowly and then all at once. I wish I fell slow, like honey, oozing from counter to floor, threads gleaming and sticky, or like a leaf carried by wind to settle in packed grass or backyards, Instead, I fall like fireworks, shooting into the sky and then a pop and a burst of sparks that crinkle and fade to embers. It's dangerous, my love, and scored by feet tapping and hand grasping. And at night, when you sleep with your back to me, the wash of white, I'll press my palm between your shoulder blades and feel dormant muscles. I'll trace lines between moles, create constellations, and weave their names in your hair. I'll listen to the whistle of air seeping between your teeth, and for a moment, maybe I'll slow, like honey. One day, you'll leave. You'll take the quiet with you. I'll shoot back into the sky and crumble. And the last poem. Salt Lake City International Tattoo Convention, held across the street from the temple. I convinced myself to do it at the convention, where drunk on the buzz of tattoo guns, I find myself in front of a makeshift piercing booth. He and I fought last night, and I need something about me to change. My hair is already red and short and banged, and tattoos are too permanent. I'd end up with a four-leaf clover, or a black outlined heart and red filling, and I'd rather wait for watercolor flowers cascading down my shoulder, or book quotes scrawled onto my arms like notes, or neon birds taking flight from my ribcage. So I choose a second hole on my lobes. I don't wear earrings in the first hole, really. They're uneven. I'm embarrassed. But the piercing studs shimmer like dew on flowers, and I want to feel the pinch and the sore ache hours after it's done. When I was 13, I wanted a second piercing. I squirmed through the piercing gun, forcing a stud through my skin, like teeth pinching peach flesh, once already, and I became enamored with the look of metal and gems marching all the way up the conch shell shape of the ear. But the prophet said we couldn't. Our bodies were temples, and temples only had one hole per ear. Some of the girls I knew removed their second piercing, solemn as though preparing for a funeral, and the holes left a scar that looked like crosshatches. Temples didn't have scars either, at least, not the ones I knew. They were pristine, granite, that gleamed against mud-colored mountains and red rock. I knew nothing of the old temples with popped walls, crumbling foundations, torn veils. Those ones saw blood and death. Those ones lived. When the needle goes through, my ear flushes warm. I imagine cells screaming, and the sight burns, red spreading from the puncture point like a hum. My fist clench and my toes curl, but one suck breath and it's over. The sting stays for hours, throbbing like guilt. When he sees them, days later, he brushes hair behind my ears like turning pages in a book, and thumbs the lobes, examines the red. It's charming, he says. It suits you. They ache like a bruise.
Very sorry that I said your name down. I did my best. Okay, and it so happens that I can't be able to read the next name either.
It's just it's okay.
No, it's not. It's not you. Ramirez?
Raul?
Raul. Okay, that's what I thought. And I was so scared. And then it will be Aya, and then Zachary Gregory.
So I actually discovered my notebook from a long time ago, and I'm actually really short. I haven't written poetry in a long time, but while I was in my freshman year in college, my brother came up to me and was like, dude, you need to write a poem for me about World War II. I'm like, okay. Do you hear them? All the screams of agony, the distant sounds of explosion, all the fury, everything outside these gates where they scurry. I pray every day, every night, in every way. But do they hear me? Or where are they? All the tears I've shed for my people, all the sweat I've bled, and for what? Do you hear us as we follow in a sequel? 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 10 by 10, 50 by 50. They don't care. They line us up to burn. Children cry, parents scream, as we are all part of their horrid scheme. They stand there laughing with their coffee and cream, as we are being beaten against a tree. And the last of us start to bleed. My time draws near, and yet so far, I watch the others being pushed and smushed. We all stand naked, bruised and scarred. Do you hear us, troops? Can you see us? My time is up now. Time to hit the showers. And I can't decide whether I want to sing this next one.
Yeah, sing it.
This one is a part of a 3-part song that I wrote, and this is the last of it. It's called The Tyrant, and it was about my ex-girlfriend leaving me for another man. I mean, it's not like me, but it's, not, okay. Oh, I'm a mess now. My heart is racing again. Why can't I hide down from this? What'd you do to me? Well, everything is said is done. I don't know where to turn. Everything around so dark, like the forest of Mirkwood. I hate everything about you. I hate everything around me. I hate what I am and what I've become. I've threatened to kill my own friends. Don't you know what you've done? I'm a fucking tyrant now. I've looked at the sky and damned everything I believe. What the hell did you do to me? You're so perfect in every way. I hate your man for what he's done. I never want to meet Noah, talk to him after everything. Oh no, what you do to me? And then it just repeats my little redhead goddess, why'd you leave me over and over again.
Hi. So, my name is Aya Saqat, and I'm from Amman, Jordan, the real one. And that is important because of the context of my poems. So, the first one is called Dampened Prayer. As she rinsed the shampoo off of my body, my mother's rich classical Arabic demanded that Sharir, the evil version of me, slink down the drain. I would watch, giggling and enchanted, sometimes cheering along. My wicked counterpart, shed like snakeskin, invisible yet present amidst the discarded foam and dirty water, slowly washed away. My mother would then wrap me in my pink towel and declare me fresh and good. I was fresh and good. Yesterday, I stepped out of the shower, hair dripping onto glistening skin, forming a puddle below. A stray hair or two clung to my thigh, a different towel draped over my face. This time, green patterned with gray. My mother would approve. With eyes shut, I wondered if the water was not quite hot enough. Could my classical Arabic ever be as rich? Okay, this one had a really boring title that I then changed. So the new title is The Fruit That Has No Name. Little brother, it was spring then. It was spring then. It was spring. Then, a year or so ago, we are lounging on a cobbled couch with a Siamese cat between us, taking in the sunlight from the wall-wide window to the right. I look up from my roll of graduate school applications to you imploring me to put on some shoes and follow you outside to pick some cherries from the garden. Why can't you just do it yourself? You've always been a lover of fruit. Little brother, it is spring now. It is spring now. It is spring. Now, you don't speak much, but I hear you are taller. The last time we spoke in English and on that same couch, you told me about your upcoming oral exam. You have my stutter, but I know you'll do just fine. I have. Little brother, it was spring then. It is spring now. I wonder if the cherry is as prolific as it was last year. Won't you go outside to the garden and find me? You can have your pick now. Cherries and apricots and fruit that has no name.
Hello. I'm going to read a poem. It's called Luck Up Your Doubt. Cram it behind metal doors of your mind. Keep your questioning tongue whirling behind your locked jaws. Do not fuel your apostasy with the combustion of all these contradictions. Forget these inconsistencies. Hammer belief through your chest where the barbs won't tear through the feeling that you should base these beliefs on. When you sat in church, your heart wept as someone described the crimson bloodshed for you. Getting louder, stretching your veins with a quickening pulse. How you wanted to screw your ribs on hinges, crack open your sternum, spilling the living contents, showing everyone your vulnerable conviction in the absurd. Loving, wrathful, giving, jealous, God filled with mercy and retribution, a God immortal that died nailed to a cross. Before the mechanics of reason turned the cogs of your mind in certain skepticism, before your lungs were pumped full of exhaust and you awoke choking on the burning in your throat and the ash on your tongue. Thank you.
I should have just read this name in the last batch, but Ron is our last reader, so.
Hi, Ron. Oh, woman, I know I have my weaknesses, not the perfect man. I hope you meet me and treat me as I am. I hope I can give you all the love you deserve. I hope to be the husband that you've been there to serve. Oh, woman, wherever you are, I'm waiting to be a bright star. The man she's not married isn't quite complete. I can put a product at a baby's little feet. Before just anything, and kids at my school, sure to love them, like be a jewels. Oh, woman, wherever you are, I'm waiting to be a bright star. And when kids would go, the all moved away. I hope that would go until our dying days. And when this life was through, after all that we gave, hope our love continues. Beyond every gaze. Woman, wherever you are, I'm waiting to be that star. Like the wind. I remember back in school, when I thought your hair looked like the wind. You were so fair. I thought your eyes were so beautiful. You were like the sun. I thought you'd be my gal and be a lot of fun. Like the wind, you carried me away from the growing up to the present day. Like the wind, I watched me the boy you up from year to year. And you've gone by. You fell for me. When the time was right. You got down on one knee. Now we're married after all this time. So I've got the sun, saying, God, you're mine. Like the wind, you carry me away from the growing up to the present day. Like the wind, I'll always be there to boy you up from year to year.
Just on time, and I really appreciate that. So if everyone could help put the chairs away, and once again, I'm sure if you want to grab a copy or buy a copy on your way out, you can. And thank you all so much. We'll see you on the 24th at the USC Library.